Hello, good morning. My name is Ronald Thibault. I'm a professor here, and sorry you will have to suffer with my French accent. But obviously the deal is to speak in English, just because some of our students that are here, I'm not a French speaker. But obviously, if you have any questions to ask, you can ask your questions also in French. I'm able to understand French. But beyond English and French, I cannot do anything. It's just to be clear with you. So it will be a joint presentation with Ilaria, who is just over there, and we are going to speak about our graduates program, Digital Public Health. It should be very interactive. We get 1 hour together, and then we will have a lunch. So do not hesitate to interrupt us. However, there are several parts, so obviously at the end of each part, you could ask your question as you like. So the Digital Public Health program, it's actually started with a competitive call, which is from the French Investment for the Future. So it was a competitive call about proposing graduate school, graduate program for teaching, but based on our research activity. And actually, at this time, among 130 proposals, there have been 29 projects that have been selected, and 3 in Bordeaux, and we were one of them. And actually, we were the first and the only one on public health, for sure, but also on data science. So we were very happy at that time to get this. Obviously, now there will be new projects that will be funded for the next years in other towns in France, but we were basically the first to start. Our motivations to do this program was basically that we felt that the training offered to the PhD students in Bordeaux are fine, but could be improved, especially in public health. And so that was our main motivation. The second motivation is that we really wanted to, and we still want to, improve the attractiveness of the Bordeaux area and our research teams, especially in any other countries that are not French-speaking countries. Just because we get already a lot of people coming from French-speaking countries from a lot of different parts of the world, but in the other areas, basically there was less students coming to work with us. And we felt that it was not a good idea, and we are still very happy to promote the French language. But basically for work, the idea was to improve our interactions with other potential PhD students coming from other parts of the world. So the institutions that help us to start this program, it's basically, the large part is coming from here, so it means the Bordeaux University, obviously, with INSERM, which is our National Institute for Medical Research, INRIA, which is the National Institute for Research in Mathematics and Informatics, and also Bordeaux Sciences Po and Bordeaux Montaigne, who are 2 different institutions devoted more in social sciences. And this is also very important because, in one hand, we'd like to really, go far in data science, but in other hand, we wanted still to open, as usually the public health, to many other topics, and especially in social sciences. And so, basically, the core groups here that were working to build this project and that are involved now in the graduate program are basically in one arm, I would say, our Institute for Teaching, which is the ISPED, the Bordeaux School of Public Health. And in the other arm, it's basically our INSERM Research Center, the Bordeaux Population Health. And also, we get industrial collaboration, which is mainly from this area. So there are also other companies like Sophia Genetics that help us thinking about the program. To be honest, so we just started the program, so we don't have a lot of courses or opportunities built with them, but this is clearly something that we want to build on for the next year. So the coordination, so it's always a bit difficult to mention names here, because actually if you just look at this box, it's a very large box where there are many people that are involved in this program. What I'd like to underline is probably our colleagues here that are working maybe more than others on this program. Obviously, so I mentioned already Ilaria, who is going to present just after me. Manon also, who organized this meeting, and she's the project officer. Amandine, who is just here, with Cécile Girard, she's not named here, although she has a very important role in this program. And Aliou Mamadou, who is just there, with the academic officer. Christophe Souriau, unfortunately, could not be there, but we basically work together hand in hand for this program, and myself. And here, the External Advisory Board. I think it's quite important to underline that from the early beginnings, we started to work with people to think about this program. And especially Rebecca Führer was really a key person in this thoughts, and actually we are going to show you our collaboration with the McGill University, which is basically really mainly due to this collaboration with Rebecca, although we knew several researchers there. It's really the work done with Rebecca. So this graduates program, Digital Public Health, covered actually a program from the master to the PhD. And so we have already started a master program in public health data science, and we get our students here in the room. And it's also, as I said, increasing the opportunities for courses around digital public health for the PhD students. And so that's clearly the PhD program, and it's where I'm going to talk a bit more. And also we think about, and we wrote that in the project, to propose also other ways of teaching. It could be either courses that could be available for other people than the PhD students, but that are first built for the PhD students, but it could be also very different courses that could be available for professionals. And so basically to enter in this program, you can be either before a master, during a master, or even being a PhD student to enter in this program. And the idea is really to we call it digital public health. So I think we could have talked about public health, because I'm not saying very well what is not digital right now in public health. But still the idea was to really try to propose courses, trainings that are around this part of the public health activity today. That could be either how you are generating the data and you are analyzing the data, but also how do we deal with the new potentialities in public health. Okay, so a very quick look to the master program. So the idea is that either you get already a master, a complete master, or you get you have already accomplished a first year of master, but right now it's really more in connection with McGill than any other universities in the world, because we are taking care about what is the program in the first year of the master, and should be very consistent with what we are expecting for our second year organized here in Bordeaux. So it could be, so as I said, any international Master 1, providing that the background is relevant for the second year of the Master. So what we are proposing here as a second year of Master is a public health data science program. And the big challenge here is really to have together what we think is data science in public health. Obviously, it's about computer sciences, so informatics, medical informatics. It's also statistics. It's very much expected from a data science, but it's also epidemiology. And as you know, students basically in public health, you do understand why I'm talking about epidemiology, but it's not obvious for everyone in the world. And so that's why also when we did a benchmark, there was very few university proposing a real data science program in public health, including epidemiology, in the sense that there are domain knowledge in the application field, but also in terms of science of epidemiology. The idea also was to be very much applied to the type of data that we are facing now in digital public health. I'm not going into much detail because the idea today is more to talk about the PhD program. It's just to say that, so we have started this one. So I'm not sure that you can recognize all the students, but they are here and you can double check that it's really them. Anyway, so that's now, let's talk about the digital public health PhD program. So, several things. The first one is that, as I said previously, we'd like to improve the teaching program for the PhD students. It's mandatory. PhD students here in Bordeaux have to learn and to follow courses during their PhD. The point is that we felt that we could be better in providing subjects of this training program that could be more related to public health, and especially digital public health. The second point is to try to have a bit more connection between the students that are basically working on the same topic. We do know that there are a lot of connection between the students that are working in this institute here at the Bordeaux Population Health. But what we saw too is that there are other students in other doctoral schools that are just working on the same topic, which is public health. And so the idea is to improve this connection with other students from other areas. When I say other areas, it could be students who are working in sociology, in cognitive areas. It could be also students working in mathematics or informatics. So that's basically the idea. Actually, there are two commitments to that, two things that the students should follow. The first one is that among the hours of teaching courses that you have to follow as a PhD student, the idea is that a part of this should be related to digital public health. And honestly, our view is quite broad. So I would say that it's very difficult to follow a training program, a training course, which is not related to digital public health. Because when you are following something related to management, for instance, we do think that it's also relevant for digital public health, because you will have to conduct projects. You have to know how to conduct this project, okay? And the second thing, which is not a big thing, is just to mention the fact that you are now part of this digital public health program, and so acknowledge this and acknowledge then these fundings coming from the French investment for the future. I'm mentioning that because I think it's not a big deal for you, but it's a big deal for us. We get grants, we use these grants for you, but we need to have this recognition. Like, you know, in any research project, you have to acknowledge where are the funding coming, from where are the funding coming, okay? And I'm saying that because I've already been in some PhD juries, and I noticed that the students did not mention that they were part of the PhD program. My feeling is that the first issue is our fault, is because we did not do a lot for the PhD program right now. And so that's why we organize this day. That's why we are going to organize new training program in 2020, especially for you. But the deal here is that you, when you are presenting your work, you have to mention the fact that you are part of this PhD program. Okay, so starting this, because of the objective I mentioned, you can very well understand that the cohort of the PhD students in the digital public health program, it's not only the students funded by this program. It's any students who are in one of the doctoral schools in Bordeaux, in co-tutelle or not, that is working in digital public health or in a field related to digital public health, and who wants to join this cohort. So that's why we opened immediately this to also students that were in the second or third year of their PhD. So obviously the opportunity to follow training that we would have proposed is quite reduced for those students. But our objective is obviously to increase the number of opportunities and of specific courses that we will organize by ourselves. So here you can see already the students that are in these cohorts, and you can see that many of these students are coming from this doctoral school, which is the Public Health and Social Sciences and Politics doctoral school. Sorry, maybe there is a devoted names in English, but I don't know his name. Anyway, and so what I like is to see that there are also students that are coming from the other doctoral school, which is devoted to mathematics and informatics. And I hope that there will be more connection, and also with other doctoral schools that could make sense. For instance, there is a doctoral school devoted to the law, and that, for instance, type of questions that we could face when we are talking about digital public health. Okay, and so among those students, those 26 students, 3 of them have been funded by the program. So we are making a call. And the next one at the beginning of the next year. And so then there is obviously a selection, a competition for this grant. It's not a lot of grants. It's between 1 and 2 grants per year. But do not forget, it's in any situation when you are looking to a PhD, just do not hesitate to contact the people, even us. Then we know what you are doing, what you want to do, and we could help you also to make some connections with researchers, okay? So then we are going to talk about the trainings that we have already offered, and so what we want to do. And so for that, it's Ilaria who is going to present the work she has done.
So sorry for my Italian accent. So the idea, as you have seen, is that we are offering trainings to PhD students. Offering means that these trainings are for free for you, for all people that belong to the cohort. So just a gentle reminder about the trainings you have to follow as a PhD student at the University of Bordeaux. And they are the so-called disciplinary trainings, and they depend actually on your school, on your PhD school. There are some interdisciplinary trainings that are that belong to different doctoral schools. And then everything which is related to the University of Bordeaux in general, so all doctoral schools, it is called transverse training. This terminology is important for you because you need to fulfill 100 hours of training. Some of you have already finished all of them, but it is really important to have trainings in all these different categories. But what we are doing as a new program is offering new trainings. We have started in 2018 with some trainings about neuroepiomics, so about epidemiology of vascular and brain aging. We have also proposed a module on modeling in life science and new trainings on during the summer school, as well as the digital health communication training, and another training on statistical analysis of big data in system immunology. So all these trainings will be continued during the program. We will relaunch other sessions of these trainings, and as you can see, some of them are related to the ISPED summer school. So most of the trainings until now were related to the ISPED summer school. But we wanted to go further. We wanted to get some inputs from you. At the time, so it was June, July, there were 23 students, PhD students, and we asked you, we sent you a survey in order to understand which are your training needs, so what you would like to follow as PhD students in digital public health. So there are some keywords that are artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing. So all these trainings will be offered, but we wanted to really assess your need for these trainings. And we also checked with you what could be the best teaching method, and something blended seems to be interesting for you. So a little bit of e-learning trainings with the possibility of meeting the teachers and discuss with them. And the ideal duration should be 2 to 3 days maximum. So we are taking all this information into account, and we have also evaluated the trainings that we offered, and we have seen that there are some modules that were really interesting, really appealing for you, like heavy R, in-bay, BARAS, that were all related to R programming. And other modules like epidemiology and mixed methods, survey analysis. These modules will be reconducted for next year and the following years. But there are also other trainings that will not be led directly by us, but which contribute to the training of our PhD students and that are offered by the University of Bordeaux. Like, for instance, find a postdoc abroad, or how to disseminate one's research, and so on. But we also wanted to, as I said, check which could be the new trainings. And we are already preparing from spring 2020 new digital public health trainings. So we will have some trainings on deep learning, neural networks, so I'm talking about modules that will be led by staff here, like Professor Lagarde or Professor Genuer. So random forest, natural language processing, so there will be Gaio Diallo leading these modules. I will propose a digital public health seminary next March. And there will be some modules co-lead with the University of Waterloo about machine learning, and another module about leadership conducted with some professors in Maastricht and Boston. And we will reconduct, as I said, some modules that were really successful last year, as you can see. And once again, do not hesitate to integrate, and you are obliged to integrate the trainings offered by the University of Bordeaux. So, do you have any questions about the trainings?
So no questions from my side. I just would like to add several things. The first one is that in terms of teaching courses that we have already offered, actually sometimes we take the advantage of what is organized to contribute for the organization of this seminar workshop. And so, for instance, one of the first we contributed to is the neuroepiomics workshop that have been organized in Arcachon, actually. And it was a real opportunity in the sense that there was the best researcher in the world coming here to, in one hand, presenting their work. In other hand, there was some practical session where they showed how to analyze this type of omics data in this context of neurological disorders. So it was completely amazing and really in the spirit of what we want to do. So basically what we did is to say, okay, so we like what you are doing. It was organized by Stéphanie Debet, etc. And so we said, we like what you are doing. We are going to contribute to this. And so we help to the organization of this workshop. And then the students from the Digital Public Health program could come and attend this workshop, which was a very highly selective workshop. So that's one way. The other way, as you mentioned, is that some of the modules that we are proposing or other colleagues are proposing during summer school could be very relevant for the digital public health. So we really take the advantage of these two situations. But what we want to do now is to have some modules that could be very much specific according to what you need as PhD students in digital public health, and that will be organized outside the summer school to be sure that you could attend this without compromising the attendance of any module during the summer school. Okay? So that's the basic idea. And the other thing is more practical, is just that you have seen some acronym like BADAS, EVR, and so that's basically around using R, programming in R, or Bayesian statistics.
So if you do not have any other questions, I can move towards the international mobility financial supports. So being a member of this cohort means that you have free trainings tailored on your expectations. And the other important thing, and it's not a bad news for you, and a bad piece of news, is that you can apply for mobility grants. So I know some of you are expecting this a lot. There are two types of support. One is about short-term mobility, which means that any mobility from 1 day to 1 month can be supported, financially supported by us. You can apply only once per year. And as I said, it should be a minimum of 1 day and a maximum of a month. And it cannot be splitted up, which means that you cannot go to Florence 1 week, then come back, and then once again, one week. It should be all together, let's say. You can apply through the year. We would say in French, au fil de l'eau. So the year long, you can apply. The best thing, well, actually, it is mandatory to apply 4 months before the wished departure. And so you can start applying from January. I'm looking at you, Marie. So from January, you can apply for this mobility grant. And it could be something, well, of course, it should be related to your PhD project, but it could be, for instance, participating to a summer school, or attending a workshop, or just meeting the team of a lab where maybe you would like to do your postdoc after. So it could be anything related to your PhD project. If you're traveling in Europe, let's take once again the example of Italy. You can have 200 euros. These 200 euros cover your travel expenses. So, which means that actually we are covering only the travel, so the flight to Florence and back. This is an allowance, let's say, that is fixed. So we will check these, especially with the doctoral school, but the idea is that you get this money. It is mostly for your travel, but if, for instance, you're wise enough to take an EasyJet flight, you can have the money for eating, just or for a night, and so on. The same principles apply for outside Europe, but as you can imagine, it's 650 euros. All the information will be available on our website, so Manon is in charge of this. So there will be there all the details to apply. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me or to contact Manon, of course. And I will just give you once again the email address of Digital Public Health. Is this clear? So, money. In short, you can have money, and that's very nice. It's not a lot of money for the short stay, for the short mobility. We can give you more money for long-term international mobility projects. So starting from 2 months to 6 months, and it is not all the year long, so it's not au fil de l'eau. It's twice, so it's one time per year, and you can only apply twice during your PhD. So for the short mobility, you can apply once per year, so which means possibly three travels, 3 grants for short mobility during your PhD. Let's say 4 if your PhD lasts more. But at that time, we will we will just give more chances to PhD students that do not have any other possibilities, that have not applied for our program before. So for this long-term mobility, it cannot be split up once again, and they must be for this first year. The mobility should be between July 2020 and August 2021, which means that if you are planning to leave in March next year, it is not possible because we are not ready for all the administrative issues to give you the grant for March. So it can be only from July 2020. So you can start applying in January. And the idea is that there's, like for the short-term mobility, there's a commission. So it's us, the Digital Public Health team, revising your project and checking the eligibility criteria, and then giving you these grants. Once again, we are mostly covering the travel grant. So for Europe is 350. Outside Europe is 750 euros. And then you also get, for each month, a monthly allowance. So you are paid 500 euros more for your PhD if you are in Europe. And if you are outside Europe, you can have 650 euros more. And it takes into account the difficulties with the accommodation and so on.
So, hello everyone. I'm Anthony Deveau, and I will present you my PhD research about dynamic modeling and prediction of health events from multivariate longitudinal data. First of all, thanks to the computerization of the healthcare facilities, we can have access to a growing amount of patient information that can be used for personalized medicine, which help making better prediction of health events such as cancer relapse, for example. And an individual prediction could provide important information for patients at different stages of the disease. First, to predict the diagnosis as soon as possible, then to help the physicians at adjusting healthcare, and in general to accompany the patients through the disease. In Cohort, more and more health data are gathered, divided in two kinds of data, no time-dependent data collected at baseline and time-dependent data collected at each visit, for example, such as biomarkers. And several models have been made to predict the occurrence of an event, like the survival models, such as the famous Cox model, and which deal with baseline measures to predict on the horizon time the risk of an event. This risk can also be updated over the time, like this. Nevertheless, this kind of model have some limits. This model can only handle measures gathered at baseline. So, in addition to baseline measures, we would like to use repeated measures like this and update the risk as soon as new information become available, like this. And the joint model can provide, the joint model can provide the prediction using baseline measures and repeated measures. But those models have some limits. They only handle repeated measures from 1 and 2 markers due to computational issues. So, to be more accurate for our predictions, we would like to use a large amount of repeated measures like this, and this is the objective of my thesis. So, the aim of this thesis is to develop novel statistical methods to deal with both longitudinal and high-dimensional data to predict health events, using many tools like general mixed model to take into account repeated measures, and survival models like random survival forest to predict an event in case of high-dimensional data. And our models will be used on different applications, on Mimic3 Cohort to predict the risk of death after discharge in intensive care units, from hospital and Hamilton Hospital data to predict hospital readmissions from heart failure. This application includes a 6-month mobility to the University of Waterloo in Canada. And we have some local applications like PACWID Cohort to predict the risk of Alzheimer's disease, and from Bordeaux and Toulouse hospital data to predict the risk of death after multi-systematic atrophy diagnosis. And thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Okay.